The one where Ross can't flirt is the 19th episode of the 5th season of Friends. This is directed by Gail Mancuso, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And this one's definitely an enjoyable episode. We have some really awkward Ross moments that are so funny. And it's also pretty much all developing in real time, which is always really interesting because it means that the events have to be really interesting for it to work because we're not jumping around in different scenes. We're not jumping to different locations. And of course, it works really well. So we have part of the story focusing on Ross, part focusing on Monica, Phoebe and Rachel, and a bit with Joey as well. And I'll talk about Joey first, Monica, Phoebe and Rachel, and then I'll save the part with Ross until last. We find out in the beginning that it's actually Monica and Chandler's 10-month anniversary, and they're going out to dinner, and Chandler wants Monica to wear some earrings that he bought her, and she goes to ask Phoebe to get those earrings back because she lent them to Phoebe, and Phoebe then goes to Rachel to ask Rachel for the earrings, and it turns out Rachel had lost the earrings, and Rachel finds out that they were Monica's and she begins to panic because Monica doesn't let Rachel borrow her things anymore because she has a history of losing them. And they spend the bulk of the episode trying to find the earrings, and eventually Phoebe says enough is enough, and she tells Monica she's sorry, she lost the earrings. And surprisingly to Rachel, and I loved how this played out, Monica was really understanding and she didn't get mad at Phoebe because, well, there's no point in getting mad at her. If she's lost them, she's lost them. And then Rachel realizes she's not willing to let Phoebe take the heat for it. So she tells Monica it was her who lost them. And Monica gets angry at Rachel. So obviously that's because Rachel loses everything. And I rather enjoyed how that played out. I thought it was pretty decent. Also, a good lesson there is that if you do have some jewellery, don't lend earrings. Also, I don't like the idea of wearing somebody else's earrings. I don't know why. I guess it's because they go in my body, even though technically the hole is, the skin's closed up within the hole. But I still don't like the idea of sharing earrings. But it's a fun part of the story. The other part focuses on Joey, and he's going to be on Law and Order, and his grandmother comes over. This is his nonny. She's played by Lilyan Chauvin, and she doesn't speak English, but she has a couple of words of English. And I thought she was such a brilliant character, and I loved the energy she brought to this. She was really proud of Joey and really had this great spirit and was really enthusiastic about watching it. And they cut Joey's scene. And he knows that he won't appear in it because he then appears in the body bag. And Joey decides the only way to resolve this is to very quickly create in the guy's apartment. This all takes place in Monica and Rachel's apartment, is to create his own version. And he records himself at the door with the duck threatening to shoot the duck, and she buys it. His nonny buys it, and it was very, very funny. And then the tape plays on, and it's Chandler singing, and it's a delight, very entertaining. And then we come to Ross, and in the opening scene, pizzas are delivered to the guy's apartment by a woman called Caitlin. She's played by Kristin Dattilo, and Ross thinks Chandler was flirting with her. And this also leads us to a discussion between Chandler and Monica about whether it's different for guys and girls to flirt with the opposite sex when they're in a relationship. I don't think it's different. I don't think valid points were raised. But if anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to share. And Ross confesses to Chandler that actually he quite likes Caitlin. And fortunately, not fortunately for Phoebe, but fortunately for Ross, Caitlin forgot the vegetarian pizza for Phoebe. And Caitlin comes back with the pizza, and Ross takes this as his opportunity to flirt. And flirting involves him saying, I happen to like 8-year-old boys. And just the awkwardness in the room when he said it. This is because Caitlin remarked that she thought her hair looked like an 8-year-old boy's. And then obviously Ross said that, and I don't think it would have been predictable for him to have said that. I can't remember the first time I saw this episode, but I feel like nobody would have expected those words to come out of Ross's mouth. And obviously Ross is not giving up, and she comes back again, and he starts to talk about gas smells. And then Rachel does something that I think is pretty interesting. Rachel actually Well, Rachel had two interesting things. The first thing that came later on is when she actually ran up to Caitlin and managed to get her number to give to Ross. And she really talked Ross up and made him seem like a genuinely nice, caring person, as he is, of course. And that was a really interesting thing for Rachel to do. And I think it helps to show a level of maturity and the fact that she is at a point where she cares more about Ross's happiness than she does about what could have been between them. And I think it was a really lovely thing for her to do. The other thing that Rachel did that was maybe not so lovely to Ross, but I thoroughly enjoyed the line, is when Chandler, talking about this flirting thing, asks Rachel, "Did it bother you when Ross flirted with other women?" And Rachel replies, "No, it bothered me when he slept with other women." Which was, yeah, that's a dig at Ross. But then she ultimately ended up getting Caitlin's number for him. So that was a lovely thing to do. It's a solid episode. Everything about this, very funny, very entertaining. Everything works really well. There isn't anything about it I didn't enjoy. And the fact that it all plays out in real time, the pacing is great. Everything is fantastic. The one where Ross can't flirt is, needless to say, a really solid episode of Friends.